Yeah.
Set up back there.
It
smells like somebody was
smells like
cooking.
somebody was cooking.
Nothing was in there.
My grandma.
No, okay.
Okay, good evening.
That is loud.
Does this have a volume control or no?
I think Jack.
Okay, he controls it? Okay.
You want it lowered?
Yes. Okay, all right. I just don't want to be screaming in anyone's ears. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call to order the Little Haiti Revitalization Trust monthly board meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, and it is 6:12 p.m.
Roll call. Roll call.
Roll call.
Leslie England Dorland,
Present.
Ashley Toussaint,
Present.
Alyssa Zapata,
Present.
Robert Holland.
Present.
We are quorum to proceed.
Okay.
Any person who acts as a lobbyist pursuant to City of Miami Ordinance Number 11469, codified in Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code, must register with the city clerk prior to engaging in lobbying activities before city staff, boards, committees, and the city commission. A copy of said ordinance is available in the office of the city clerk at City Hall. The material for each item on the agenda is available online on the city's website. Any person may be heard by the board through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the board unless modified by the chair. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the board takes action on such proposition. The chair will advise the public when the public may have the opportunity to address the board during the public comment period or at any other designated time.
So we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone can step up to the podium, state your name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes to provide any statement that you'd like.
Good evening, Leonie Hermenton.
We'll compress it for her. It's not on.
Is it? Okay. I'm with Clota, and I just want to thank Joanne for following up with not the MOU, but the resolution. We haven't signed it yet because we wanted to review the grant proposal with the Miami Foundation, and Joanne sent it to us, so it is being reviewed. But I just want to point out something that we've all raised, an issue raised about how people are recruited. We're finding that the recruitment pool excludes folks who grew up here, used to live here, but were displaced by what's happening and are no longer eligible for any of the programs. Any of the programs, any of the opportunities that are offered to young people here. We know that Father Reggie has offered a compromise and said, well, maybe we can use the church as an address because he has a lot of young people who come to his church and who would absolutely benefit from the Venture Miami program. But Joanne reminded us that, the board, the trust did not create the legislation. It's something that is voted on by the City of Miami Board of Commissioners, and that's where we need to address it. And this is something that we think is critical to the success of this program, making sure that young people who grew up here and who've been displaced by gentrification can benefit from these programs. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll have one, I don't want to listen.
Yeah.
Well, the comment first. I see the desire to try to say, how do we make sure we have the full impact of the program? The only concern that I have is, how do we track who was displaced? I mean, that becomes such an open process. How long did they have to be displaced? I mean,
School records, addresses.
who does all? We don't have that staff to do all of that, and you guys don't have any staff to do it. So how do we track all that? And then the question becomes, once you open that Pandora's box, what about that as it relates to other things that we fund for folk who might have been displaced that now live in another community? Do we open up other grants and all up to that as well? So it ends up being a slippery slope when you look at it that way, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. But I think that once we take this issue seriously and we decide to create the criteria that is needed to be qualified, whether it is ownership programs, whether it's scholarships, once we create the rules that will govern inclusion, the admission into these programs, it's doable. Of course, we're not going to get somebody who was born here and and spent 2 years here and left. No, I think that there are folks who've gone to high school here, who've lived here, who have a track record, who have addresses, who have multiple ways to document the fact that they lived here and they were displaced. I think that, I don't know, I think that there is enough, people can have enough documents to show that they do have a stake in this community, that they were rooted in this community, they were displaced for whatever reason, and that they should, in fact, that was the whole intent of this program, is to really have an impact on folks, on young people, and on folks who were displaced. That was kind of the intent of this whole agreement when it came to community. And so to have these guys moved out for whatever reason, because they sold their homes, they were renting, they sold, they're no longer here, and suddenly there's this great program in tech, and you're told, oops, you don't qualify anymore. You were moved out 5 years ago, you don't qualify anymore. I think that it's sort of not doing justice to the spirit of this agreement.
All right, so let me see if I can proffer something else to you. We don't know what that pool is that we're talking about. There's this unknown that we're throwing out. We know there's some people out there who were displaced. Our charge is strictly for the boundaries of Little Haiti from the City Commission. So it might be an amendment that has to take place on that end. But with the limited funds that we're talking about, we might not have enough money for the kids who are already even in this district before we add this other layer of kids getting scholarships outside of the area because they at one point lived in this district, but maybe their parents moved to Pembroke Pines or Miramar or somewhere else, or North Miami. I think if the program is so important, we should be looking at North Miami, the city of North Miami, and trying to see if they too could adopt this program and put money into the scholarship fund for those kids that are in North Miami. But you can't spend all of your time and resources going through paperwork to see whether or not the birth certificate matches, the school record. I mean, we don't have the staff to do that. So we're going with the schools here that can verify who those kids are here and try to support those kids. And you know what? We can always amend this later. You might decide as you're doing this here, you need more money because you don't have enough money for the kids here that are matriculating off the college or trade schools before you add in another pool. But let's say, you say, all right, we didn't use that much of the money because that pool was rather restricted. Maybe we look at alternative language later on to amend it. I don't think anything prevents us from amending it, but I do think you have to get off the ground, because at some point, kids will be graduating in another 2 or 3 months, and we're still talking about how do we increase this and increase that. Let's go ahead and get some scholarships in some kids' hands now. And if we think we need to amend it or do further, then we sit down both boards and figure out a way to amend it and pass that on to the city of Miami and see if it's something that passes the muster there, in my opinion.
May I respond? I absolutely agree with you. We're not preferring at all that it should be stopped so that we can include folks. But we're just saying that there is an unfairness about it that should be considered in the long run. We're not saying that applicants should not, we should stop the application process because these young people are excluded. We're just saying that there is some, basic inequity about the fact that kids who grew up here, who were rooted in this community, are no longer eligible for a program that was created on their behalf. So it's a long-term, short-term, long-term solution, but not stopping what's going on right now. Thank you.
I just have a question. For me? For anyone. I mean, this was a process that we just recently began, but you know me, it's about the data, right? It's about the data. So yes, we can definitely say that we understand people have been displaced and they may not qualify for a program that was initiated, I think it was November 2025, is that when it was decided? So yeah, so we can look back, and I understand the inequity, but can we look at the data as to who has applied, does not qualify, and what is the reasoning for the non-qualification based on the criteria? Because it could be a plethora of reasoning, rationales, justifications, whatever it is. But before we say that this is a program that I think all of us agree that would enhance, for the community, for the children of the future, as Robert stated, let's get, people qualified that meet the criteria, and if there's a way for us to enhance it, to see. But I would like to see how many people or how many students have not qualified based on, your rationale. Because it could be a statement, and I understand the inequity of just layman's terms.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I need to see the data. So if we had 50 applicants and now only 10 qualified and 40 didn't qualify, then I could see, okay, you know what, we may have to adjust, what the criteria is. But we definitely should at least see, have these students applied, didn't meet the criteria, to see where we can go. Because we're not just gonna, I don't think it benefits us if we're gonna adjust a policy just based on a statement. You have to follow the data. You have to see where the data drives you, because there may be things that are priority and there may be things that are not priority. But I think we need to at least see where it lands us. So I don't know, Joanne, if that's something you can look into. How many applications have we received? How many applications have been denied? And what is the reason for the denial?
So
And if I may respond to that quickly, if I may, I would like to say that sometimes the data doesn't bear the information, because if you are, in the application, see yourself as categorically ineligible because of where you live, you're not going to apply. And so some people may feel, I live on 50 whatever, I may be in the boundary. That may be what the data will capture, but the data will not capture people who've lived in here 4 years ago, who moved to North Miami and who consider themselves ineligible. So there's a certain bias if you're looking at data and saying, well, let's see who reflects. Okay?
Of course, the algorithm of the data, if you are looking at the number of applicants that applied as opposed to the number that could have qualified, that's definitely different. That's two data sets. So definitely, if there's anything else that we can look into, if we can get school records, if we can get any type of other community data records that can show that these individuals would have qualified if not for moving or relocating. But we definitely need to look at what is the basis for the ineligibility. So yes, so there could be one data set that says who applied, who was denied, didn't qualify, then we can look at, you didn't apply, but you may have been eligible. I don't know if that's possible, Diana. I know that's a big data set.
So I just wanted to clarify that Leonie was originally speaking in reference to the Venture Miami program, which that application is when it's submitted through the Miami Foundation, and then City of Miami paying 50% and we're paying 50%. Then we also have our college and trade school in which students are applying directly with the trust through an application process. So to answer your question, so far since we have launched in November, we've received 19 applications. We have 5 approvals, 5 denials, and then the rest are pending review. As far as Venture Miami, we're still in the process of doing the grant agreement with the Miami Foundation. So so far for the only career track program that we have been advertising for is for the AI programs, in which we have 3 students that have qualified for those programs. Once we complete the application, then we'll begin to advertise and solicit for students based on the multiple trade schools and technical schools that provide services. So at this time, we don't have that application exactly open for people to apply for us to collect the information.
I also want to say, sometimes outreach is important. We got to figure out what our outreach is, because I just started getting a newsletter and I'm on the board. I mean, those things happen, right? Like sometimes we can overlook the people that's right here in the community, and then we have more people that the program wasn't necessarily geared towards versus the people that it is. So I want to make sure that we can go back and look at how many times did the information stay here before it bounced out? Because now if the information is outside more than it is here, then we have to what are we doing? We have to be mindful of that, because this is a very analog community. Like, you have to put stuff in people's hand, you got to put it in their mailbox. If you send the emails in this zip code, it may look like outreach, but it's not really outreach. And then other zip codes that are more tech savvy, that are north of here, that have more resources, might be getting the emails, and people right here are not getting it. So I think we also got to look at our outreach to make sure that that is equitable, because I don't want to be a situation where we have 90 North Miami applicants and 5 Little Haiti applicants. That's crazy.
I completely understand. And of the 19, the 5 that were denied, I believe maybe 2 were with outside of Little Haiti. But I just want to address that we do recognize that other than our electronic type of marketing, we do canvassing. So we do have someone who's going out and canvassing. And for example, we've been focusing most recently on the home rehab, and we've gotten interest in people who have contacted us or just come here because we literally are, like you're saying, putting flyers in people's mailbox. And we're also doing that with the small businesses as well, and so we're getting an increase. Because we do realize that the grassroots effort is important, especially when you're looking into a physical boundary, and that's gonna be the best way to do it. So we acknowledge, your comment, and we're making strides and working towards resolving that right now.
I have a question, if I may, Chair. Actually, you're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Hello?
You got a person.
Hello?
A little mic call.
Okay, there. Yeah, I got it. Venture Miami is for the entire city of Miami. If you reside in the city, you can apply to Venture Miami.
Correct. And if you live within the city of Miami, you can apply for Venture Miami and you get 50% covered.
So if somebody lives down, say on 48th Street or 50th Street, they can still apply. Here, if they're within the boundaries, we're covering the other 50% of the tuition.
That is correct.
Okay, but it doesn't exclude anybody.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for public comment? I just want to say one thing. The outreach is everybody in this room today. I mean, I think the community that we represent is through, I think historically, it's really through word of mouth, right? So yes, we can move with the times, we can put the flyers, we can do certain things, but definitely the outreach is everybody that attends these meetings every month on an ongoing basis has a consistency that can get the word and information out, because we can do everything that we can from moving it forward, but the outreach is everybody in this, and I think we've stated it as a board on multiple occasions. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't have a platform, we didn't have, we weren't able to have our board minutes on the website. There were certain things that we have definitely accomplished, but truly, it is word of mouth. That is how the community really truly functions. And when we talk about grassroots efforts, it's everybody that attends these meetings on a consistent basis that can get the information out, because people will listen to you, as opposed to, I get a flyer in the mail and I'm not even opening it, right? But if somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, this is what's going on, you're gonna have a bigger impact than anything else. And I know we are in 2026, it is the way of our technology, that's the way through social media, but truly it is through the word and the grassroots efforts of everybody in this room that attends the meeting on a consistent basis.
Thank you. I just wanted to add also that, for example, for the scholarship, we actually have partnered with Sunny. Sunny has been going to the schools and giving out the flyers to encourage the applications. So I think within the last 2 months, for us to have 20 applications received, and most of them are within the area, that we can see the effects of the grassroots efforts.
You gotta also consider AI. You don't know what's real or not real these days, so thank you for, doing that, because it's truly, you don't know what is. I mean, I think we thought it was gonna snow in Miami the other day, and it was like, school is closed. That came from 2 years ago. So definitely having people in the community really messaging what we're doing is really where the impact comes. So I appreciate that. Well, go ahead. So any other public comments before we move forward? Okay. So we're gonna order of the day. Is there anything for the order of the day? We'll move into presentations.
The first presentation is the City of Miami Police Department with their quarterly report. There's a presentation on the screen behind you, but you also have it inside of the packet as well.
Sorry about that. Here you go.
All right, perfect. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Officer Gene. I'm the Neighborhood Resource Officer for the Little Haiti Network. On my left is my team, my commander, sergeant, and also my partner. Where is he? Officer Harris. All right, so we're gonna go over statistics between 2004 and 2005. Actually, the one that I'm gonna present is actually for the entire year. So what I did this time, I did compare 2024, 2025. Okay, let's start with total call for service. Now, you can see for 2024, it was 38,968 versus 2025, 30,262. So you can see that there's a decrease of 22%. Now, overall, all crimes are decreasing pretty much. Vehicle crime, property crime, person crime. So in 2025, we have 378, 429 for property crime, and person crime 287. So for the year comparison between 2024 and 2025, everything is decreasing, okay, which is a very good sign for the, and then this is only for Little Haiti, just this area, okay? Now, once again, everything, you can see robbery, firearm offense, theft, retail theft, homicide, burglary, everything's going down. So those figures is speak for itself. So pretty much the area is getting much better. So overall, so call for service decreased by 22%. Those robberies, which was a concern for us, 52%. Vehicle theft, 43%, which is a pretty big decrease. And also firearm offense, which is 35%. And that's about it for between 2005 and 2004. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
You mentioned the calls are down by 8,000 calls. Is it the same phone number?
So crazy.
You know, sometimes that could happen. You can change the number, nobody gets it.
So I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Sorry, data is what drives me. Sorry. So calls, is it calls, the calls are decreased or the calls did not warrant a response?
No,
Is it the calls?
the calls.
The calls?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any key initiatives or strategies that the City of Miami Police Department has initiated that can contribute to the 22% decrease
Okay, let's
off
say,
the time?
let's say retail theft, for example. We need Commander Johnson initiate a retail safety program. Okay, my partner here is spearheaded the program. He's gonna explain to you a little bit what we did as a team to decrease. We had a issue with retail theft, like some area, for example, the Walgreens here on 554, at one point per day got hit like 2 or 3 times. Okay, but that's history now, right now.
So basically what we did, we created a program where managers at the store, they can have a rapid response. So they can have a rapid response between me, the beat officers, and if something is actively happening at the store, we'll respond, and 9 times out of 10, we apprehend the offender that's on scene.
And also, for example, burglaries. Lately, we had an issue with some subject going around and, and trying to, his target was pretty much businesses. So what we did, we synchronized our forces, meaning support, patrol, beat, PST, all right? And also the neighborhood. So we went street by street where the incident occurred, neighborhood by neighborhood until we get the proper tips and able to apprehend that person. Okay, find out he used to, it's not his first burglary, so he's gonna stay in prison for a while.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do y'all have any, do you have any like proactive community programs with the youth? Are there any outreach or after school programs that y'all are doing? Are y'all seeing an increase in that? Because a lot of times when young people don't have stuff to do, they kind of get into trouble. So do you guys have any like programs that are, or any report on your programs that y'all are doing to engage the youth?
What we do, we use, we work closely with certain organizations. For example, Gang Alternative, that's one of them. We also work with the SRO, which is the school board officers. So usually they refer those kids for us. What we can go to the school, try to address any issue that they have, or we do also reference from for any program that we have.
How you doing? Commander Roger Jackson, Also, we have the PAL program. Prior to my position here a couple positions ago, I was the deputy commander of the community relations section. So the PAL program is a robust program. It has grown over the last 20 years. Our focal point is obviously the football, but then we have co-ed basketball. We also have cheerleading, dancing, and many different programs. We have the Police Explorer program, which is a disciplinary program that allows the kids to have some kind of structure and semi-operate like a mini police department. A lot of them go on to become actual police cadets. Some of them just carry that discipline over to the next phase of life, which is college. We hope that's the case. We also have programs over spring break where we have daycare centers, I guess spring break centers across the city, and we also have a great summer program that we utilize. And then it's very robust, it's fluid, it's constantly changing. We constantly get new ideas and new sponsorships to start new programs. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry to jump in. Sorry about that.
I was just wanting to know, like, could that be included in y'all reports as well? A lot of the stuff in here seems to be kind of like static, you know, and kind of reactionary. So is there a way that y'all can add, like, make a correlation, because you do the programs because you know it. I think you do youth programs because you think it prevents crime. I think so. So is there a way that, let's say all of a sudden, or since we're talking about Little Haiti specifically, PAL, you know, City of Miami, those could be kids in Liberty City, and you know, are those kids in this zip code being impacted by that?
So see, we don't really quantify that, and I know and I understand what you're saying. It's not integrated into our Little Haiti reports because we mostly have automated systems that deals with what's happening. You report a crime, we have the statistics, right? But it's hard to quantify that this person was diverted from another part of the lifestyle because of this program. We like to think that attribute to, you know, kids staying out of trouble and crime reduction. And that's why normally we have community relations come out to these events so they can be able to better explain these things, but it's not quantified right now. Perhaps we can meet in the future with our community relations commander and see if they can quantify it somehow, some way.
Is there a way y'all can get the attendance sheets and just sort it by zip code, or, you know?
That will be a question I'll have to pose to the PAL director.
That's very geographic. You can just 33137.
Right.
Little Haiti pretty much, and see if those kids are benefiting from it. Because you might get some other valuable data that said, oh wow, maybe we're not serving this area as much as we could. I
got you.
So that's just what I'm trying to always look at.
Got you.
You know, it made me just think about when Vice Chair was talking about just children, but there is a way. I know just quantifying data, very difficult, but there is a way for us to get, because this is a significant decrease. And I just want to make sure that kudos to the City of Miami Police Department, because I mean, without even having the information, I know that you have had to increase your boots on the ground to get this under control, to have almost a 25% decrease in crime and the calls that are coming in. One of the things is maybe, as Vice Chair talked about, the impact on children, maybe seeing who are committing the crime, what are the age ranges, you know, is it juveniles, is it adults, you know, seeing if there's a decrease, you know, kind of breaking down the data from a census point from, okay, are we looking at children 13 to 17, and then are we looking at adults from 18 to 25, you know, seeing if there's a decrease in a certain population that has made that impact. So definitely, I know, Joanne, I know the collaboration is there with Department of Juvenile Justice, but that data can definitely be provided, you know, with Juvenile Justice Department, with JAC. We can definitely, you know, just see how that has made an impact, because is there an increase on crimes for the elderly, decrease on, we can break down the data in so many ways.
And we have an entire team of analysts who, you know, we give them a mission and we tell them what exactly the output we want, and they're able to muster up some things.
Definitely. But I just want to say thank you before, if there's no other questions, thank you to the city. Oh, sorry.
Me too.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Before I say thank you.
Go ahead, Leon.
Go ahead, Leon.
My
question is about, we know that the City of Miami Police Department has been deputized by the Department of Homeland Security.
Correct.
In terms of the immigration, the ICE holds. And we know that there has been a significant decrease in calls to the police for domestic violence issues or multiple issues. So I just want to know what are the, how much of the domestic, what's the rate of domestic violence in this community? Have the calls dropped around these issues? And do you attribute any of this lowering of the calls to the fear of this relationship with ICE?
See that, I don't know if there's a nexus to that. I know, I'm gonna answer the first part of your question, but the first comment that you had. Not all of us are deputized as ICE. It's 3 people in the entire police department, and they focus on sex crimes. If I stop an individual today, I have no access to any information, any immigration information. I don't ask you anything about your immigration status, nor do any of these officers that are standing here. It was 3 people assigned to the detail. It's just a matter of referring violent individuals, child sex offenders to the appropriate federal authorities. That's it. We're doing just enough to make sure we comply with the nature of the law, the Florida state law passed by the governor. The second part, I don't know if there is a nexus of people are reporting less, because if you don't report it, we won't know. So it's hard for us to determine that people are calling less because of that reason, or maybe there's less things happening. I like to think it's the work of the team, the work we put in every day, the initiatives, the programs that we're putting in place that's curtailing some of the crime, both violent and property crimes. So I guess I hope that answered your question. There's no real nexus between.
With all due respect, Commander, I just want to say that if I may,
I'm sorry to interrupt for 1 second. Can the board vote to reopen public comment? And then we can continue, I'm sorry.
Motion to open public comment?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commander. But I just want to say that from someone who works in the community and sort of would even claim to have a sense of the pulse of the community, I just want to tell you, no one knows that only 3 officers.
Right.
We saw the commission hearings.
Right.
We saw the commissioners vote to deputize the Miami Police. So I know that we have a lot of domestic violence victims who are no longer calling the police.
I got you.
We have a lot of issues. So yeah, I do think that you work really hard on following your meetings, and I know that you have an incredible team that does a lot of boot on the ground, a lot of work. But the reality is that there are folks in this community who are no longer calling 911, no longer calling the police because they're fearful. And I'm just going on the record to reflect the fact that it is happening and that folks are not calling the police out of fear.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think if we hold a community meeting here and I come and speak to the folks out there, that it may ease them up a little bit, make them a little bit more comfortable? Maybe they have a lot of questions that goes unanswered.
I think a Zoom meeting would be best. No one's going to show up.
No.
Something remote on the radio, but nothing in person. I don't think so.
We'll put something together.
Chair Mayor, thank you. So I'd like to say thank you as well. There were some rough situations that overlapped with Model City, Liberty City earlier this year in Little Haiti, and things are much better under control. And I've really noticed I come and go at odd times, midnight, early morning, and there's been a real increase in patrols. Guys are a lot more visible, and things are a lot quieter. There's not so many folks roaming around with nothing to do at midnight. So I really appreciate that. It's noticeable. So the data also reflects that. The only thing that I am concerned about is I live in the North End, I live up on 76th Street, and I hear random gunshots overnight, late night, overnight, and I don't know if these are called in, I don't know if they're picked up, I don't know what is being done about them. You know, you hear them periodically, you know, once a week, twice a week, and I'm curious to see what is done. You know, I don't know if anybody's actually been injured or, you know. Also, I get a lot of alerts. I participate in Nextdoor, you know, for some of the communities, and they put up alerts on there, and, you know, people start sending me things. Did you see this? Did you hear this? So I'm curious to understand what's being done about, you know, something that happens, you know, 11:30 at night, you know, you're getting ready to go to bed, and, you know, I've noticed it even more recently because we all have our windows open with this lovely weather. So I'm curious to understand that situation.
So yeah, so we have this program in place called the Shot Spotter program. Are you aware of that? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So anytime a shot spotter goes out, anytime a shot go out, whether it's one or multiple, is detected in real time. The officers get it on their phones, their city phones, and the dispatcher dispatch officers to the area right away. And is also equipped with a geolocation device where it actually pinpoint the exact location. We also have other technology in the area, such as our license plate readers and our real-time crime center cameras. And using all of the above, the officer is able to go out there and immediately investigate what happens. Now, what may happen, they may have a vehicle, they put it out on the radio, it gets stopped, you may get the person who committed the shooting. It's very easy, right? You may also have a situation where there's no vehicle, there's no description, maybe the person's on foot, who knows? But you may have casings. Now, each casing comes with what they call, it's not fingerprints, but every gun that's shot
It has markings.
Has markings, exactly. That's unique to the actual firearm. And that particular firearm could be used in multiple crimes. So we have a unit called the Crime Gun Intelligence Detail that comes out. The first thing they do, they follow up with the cases that were recovered. They go out, they conduct their investigations, and they link it to certain other crimes. And perhaps you may not have nothing here, but you may have something over there. And we pretty much started this the last 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, and I've been here 20 years. Shots fired go out, there's no victim, there's no crime. Okay, just go ahead, everybody,
Yeah,
go
because
back
that
in service.
doesn't fit into, you know, somebody would have to call it in. you
Right.
know, Have, you know, find somebody deceased or find someone injured.
Right.
So it's, you know, I'm very curious to understand this thing that happens.
Everything is
you know,
followed up
couple-
now, and
couple
I
weeks.
think it helped out a lot. It helps because now you may not get someone for the actual shooting that took place, but you may get a bad guy who may be responsible for other violent crimes in other areas. Not only unique to the city of Miami, Miami Gardens, we've gotten links to Miami Gardens, North Miami Beach, etc. So just so you know, I get a report every morning. I print out the shot spotter report. I send a list to our CJ lieutenant, and I'm asking, do we have any updates on this, that, and then and I give you an example. We had one a couple weeks ago by the church, St. Mary's Cathedral. It was a shot spotter call. My team went out, they located casings, and they contacted the real-time crime center, and initially they didn't find anything, but they just had to make some adjustments, and they saw a group of what appears to be juveniles shooting at each other. Through investigative means, they identified those juveniles as documented gang members, not from Little Haiti, Alapata, Little Havana. And we had a homicide of a female in Little Havana a couple months ago. She got hit with a stray bullet. It was all over the news. I'm not sure if you know about that. That case didn't match the same gun I was using in that shooting. And through those investigative means, they was able to get a full confession from one of the parties and identified all the other shooters in the Little Havana case. Yes, that shooting in front of the school was relatively minor compared to the homicide. So being the fact that we were able to get that and connect it to a whole nother homicide, to me, that just shows you that the importance of us going up and following up. Exactly.
The data.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. It's just like, you know, you hear it outside with my dogs, or, you know, you're getting ready to go to bed, and, you know, like I said, you know, we all have, you know, our windows open at this point, and it's concerning to, you know, still hear this sometimes late night, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Commander Jackson and the team, thank you. I just got a whole first 48 tutorial on that whole synopsis. It was absolutely amazing, but don't tell us all your secrets.
Technology's come
Let
along.
me tell you, I was a homicide detective and a sergeant for 10 years, so
Wow.
that was,
No. But really,
that
thank
was
you.
my job for a long time.
But thank you to you and your team. Thank you to the City of Miami Police Department. Thank you for your team for coming out and providing these quarterly reports and having a presence in Little Haiti and with the community. Thank you for
Absolutely.
your service.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Next, we have the presentation for the college and trade school scholarship recipients. First, I'm going to call Demaya Williams.
You can stand right there. They're gonna
Good job.
Monday, congratulations. What major?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We have, the real check will be in the mail, don't worry.
Next, we have Nassim Zoraye.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. What school?
FIU, Florida
FIU?
International
Okay.
University.
What major?
Biological science.
Wow.
Three, two, one. One more. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And then we have one more, Rochelle. I don't know if she's here. Okay, she's here.
All right.
Our third. Rochelle Everard.
Congratulations.
What school, Michelle? What school?
FIU,
Major?
business finance.
All right.
One.
Great.
One more.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Do we have any
Then we
questions?
have one small business grant recipient, Yo Miami.
Congratulations. You want to come take the picture here? You can see? She's, okay, she's video, okay.
All right. Everybody look here. 3, 2, 1. One more. All right. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move over to legislative items. Approval of the minutes from the January 13th, 2026 board meeting. I can't move it.
Motion to approve minutes. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We don't need an absence waiver. And then, so we'll go to Resolution 2026-002, Funding request, Miami Marketing Strategies Incorporated.
Yeah, so this is through our general funding policy, a proposal that was received from Miami Marketing Strategies. We have a presentation that's included in your book, but it's also right behind you. And I would like to invite Mr. Babacar to, who will be going through the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. It's just such a pleasure to be back first in the building, in the neighborhood, and to see so many people I haven't seen for quite a while now. I'm appearing before you on behalf of the Miami Marketing Strategy about a project which is in the neighborhood and which is dear to both my heart in relationship to the neighborhood, but also the worth of the project in terms of the many ways in which it is tied to culture, and that's what I do, culture. So the last year there was a Miami Carnival, Little Haiti Miami Carnival, and as I study Carnival, that's what I do as a social scientist. So whether it's the Brooklyn Carnival, whether it's the Toronto Carnival, I went to the extent that with friends we created the Broward County Carnival when I was at Cultural Affairs. So my engagement in the project is both in terms of what it is about, but also from a kind of evidence in the data now, how arts and culture is an integral part of the neighborhood, particularly this neighborhood for those who were here in the 1990s, etc., how art and culture shaped not only the Little Haiti, but also shaped Caribbean culture in Miami. And as I work now internationally with the Haitian artists, 9 of them today, who are showing, as we speak, at the 154 in Marrakesh, all the 4 of them came from Little Haiti. Turgot Bastien, Guy Sylvain. Furthermore, in May also, we are curating for the first time a Haitian contemporary artist at the Biennale de Venise, Edouard Duval-Carrier. So the neighborhood is very important to us, whether we live here or we don't live here, because it's a site of a historical culture in which we all have our part. So this presentation then evolved out of last year Carnival in Little Haiti, which the study reveals some critical aspects that perhaps could have been added to it, and that is the culinary art and the visual art. Of course, Carnival is visual art, but also by visual art, we're talking of plastic, paintings, sculptures. So this year we expanded on the last year, but really add these 2 components of the visual art. Right, so these are little bit shots of last year. And quite frankly, the regret were that we were not equipped to gather data in order to be seeing how we can compare it year to year. But it was the first year. It was just kind of looking into how people will react to this cultural performance articulation. So I'm appearing here on behalf, again, of the organization which is led by Mr. Kayar, who is here. And what we're doing is to try to see how really the arts and culture in general are reformulated within the neighborhood, and then how it can yield to perhaps more international resonance where we are located now into our activities. So now Carnival in the first place, right, which is the most, what the Haitian Carnival does is really about bringing the historical aesthetic of Carnival within a contemporary phase. What do we mean by that? It has become now, throughout the Carnival, whether it's Caravana in Toronto or Labor Day Carnival, it's really is more and more separated from the historical framework of Carnival costumes. So therefore, most of the costumes now are just plastic feathers, and so the children don't have, for example, any possibility to know what does the personage of Jab Jab represent. So how do we, while continuing to ride the success of Carnival, but at the same time also making sure that Carnival becomes a teaching tool so that the children can understand what is the history, where did it come from, why is it that they need to participate in it. So those are the aspects that perhaps last year the Carnival was bringing back, and we hope that this year we will be able to kind of advance on that, bringing back Carnival's personage teaching in conversation, in storytelling, in many other forms that can have, will center the identity and the culture of the youth, while also opening them to thinking about what are the forms of contemporary expression they can bring to Carnival. But then, Carnival also is one of the opportunity you have a critical mass. And critical mass is fundamental to culinary art. So people may be discovering Haitian food the first time during the Carnival, so that by bringing culinary art as now a whole day before the Carnival, so that we're maximizing not only attendance, but also those who are returning for the thing.
Your mic, sorry.
All right.
So, having a little interference on this one.
Okay, thank you. You good? Now, these, many people will say, well, food festival exists everywhere. You know, what is it? What makes it different from? But what we try to do is to bring a little bit of innovation in the sense that because it's a little Haiti, all right, we may have now a Senegalese chef to come to work with a local Haitian, little Haiti chef, an Ivorian to come to work with another Haitian chef. And how do we really present the restaurants as sites of culinary art? So this is a fundamental aspect of this year program that we have added to the festival. So then we have a clear strategy to do that. We've been doing this. So we have already many people who came last year in Carnival are thinking about how do we get back here, so that those are the fundamental aspect of the attendance, how also government is going to be very, whether it's the Little Haiti Trust, the city of Miami, how do we make sure that the culture really is an expression of all the government and the citizen of the thing. Visual art is very important to me, so therefore, thinking about now adding this, that's why we call the exhibition Food for Thought. How do we look at the visual artist exploration of culinary art through work and have that as an exhibition? How do we have young children, teenagers, in a morning program about eating healthily? How do you cook? You can cook by yourself. So these food science and nutrition also is very important as part of the festival, right? But of course, the fun that I said it earlier, it's very important that the children at the lower level of their age being exposed to the cultural framework, the cultural heritage, which they have the right to be part of, right? So that is really what this Apex this year is attempting to do. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Is this the funding request presentation, or is this just presenting?
No, this is the funding presentation. So it's probably this microphone. So this is a funding request application. The request is for $150,000. In your packet, there is a budget. Also in the proposal that was provided, it gave the overall budget amount, and then the request to the trust is $150,000, and then there's a detailed budget for all expenses. That's also inside of it. There is, I also created a list of eligible expenses based on trust policies, or let me call it, it's called allowable expenses, for your review as well. So those documents are in the proposal.
So I did have a couple of questions. I did see that, so that's why I thought I was going to be presenting here. The budget breakdown, I know that we have a funding policy that we can't fund the entire project. So I see that you have $500,000 from the city of Miami, and then you have another $150,000. I think that's District 2 from the county. Is there a breakdown of how those funds would be supporting the carnival? Because I know that.
Right, is in the.
I'm
sorry.
Yes.
It's on the budget we've attached to the per site. Yeah, right there with in color. Right. So the funding is really two-part series. Is the city and the county, which did it last year and is very enthusiastic to come back this year again. So we added now the new component we are bringing into the festival to add it into it. But the 70% almost of the project is already funded.
So the total funding for the project is
800 and I am not 824, 45, something like that.
And the request is for 150. Joanne, does it align with our funding policy?
Yes, because We fund up to a maximum of 25%.
25%. You mentioned that. You mentioned, of course, Carnival happened last year. Do we have any data regarding the turnout, how many people attended, and what did that budget look like last year?
The only data were the high school students that I had attempted to work with them for data gathering. So therefore, we, from what we have as evidence, was about 12,000 people attended from the morning all the way to the evening. But it was just 54 high school students. So certainly they have not captured all the attendees. But that is why this year we want to have a mechanism of capturing the data so that at least we can see what influence culture is still having as an instrument for articulating development.
Any additional questions?
What was your total budget last year?
720.
And that was the one-day event, right?
That was a one-day event.
What are you
but,
doing?
And one component.
When you say one component, explain it.
Right. I mean, it was just the street parade.
So now you have less than that for that event now, for just the one day?
No, because if you look at we're doing 2 days.
No. Last year your budget was 720.
720. Yeah.
Okay. Right now you have 650.
Right, 650.
So that leaves you a delta of about 70 for the one day.
Yes.
But you're adding a second day on.
Yes.
What is that second day going to cost you?
The second day is that's going to cost us around 150.
So you still have a delta of 70. You still have a delta of 70 grand.
Yes.
But where are you getting that from?
We are actually almost sure that we will get it by next week.
From where?
From a funder.
Is there any way to incorporate the second day into the first day?
No. Carnival? No, because you're going to start very early in the morning, set up.
How is the Miami Carnival funded? You've been associated with those other carnivals, right?
Miami Carnival, Broward County, was funded by Broward County.
What about the
through
one here?
Cultural Affairs.
What about the one that took place here in Miami?
Cultural Affairs also.
Do you know how much they funded that for?
No, I haven't done Miami Carnival for the past 7 years.
Because it was a very big event, and I'm just curious what that.
They have 4 days.
Yeah.
Miami Carnival is a 4 days event. The first day it happens in Broward, and then it comes to Miami.
Yeah, the only concern, and I want to be supportive of the item. The concern I have is we're unlike a government. We don't have that pot of money. And we're trying to find a way to have the greatest impact in this community with home ownership, business development, education, all those things that will elevate a community, and obviously cultural is very big. I just don't know if we have 150 to put into it. And that becomes the question, because once we open this up, there's other events that take place here when we're doing Haitian Heritage Month, and all this, and we have never given, the city of Miami has given. We've always said that we couldn't get into that. And the question becomes, once you open up this Pandora's box,
right,
it becomes an escalade of begs
Right, but that's
and it's hard to say no.
No.
Because it's people you know. But then at that point, we get away from the total mission of what we're here to do. Because there's great people involved with great purposes, and all of a sudden we talk about expanding scholarships to North Miami, potentially if people displaced, we don't have the money for it. We talk about home ownership, we don't have the money for it. There's a lot of things that eat away at it. And so I want to try to make sure that we stay close to our mission and purpose. That's why I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say. But I want to do something for the event with it being tightly tailored to what our purpose is. Because with what's going on right now, geopolitically, the Haitian community is going to have some more pressing issues other than coming out to a party. I'm even worried about how many people come out with ICE and all the other stuff going on, whether or not people are just spooked to really be out in that kind of atmosphere. Because we hosted something here last week, Commissioner King, the Trust, and some others, a vigil out here in support of TPS and all other stuff. And I just assume that's something that should be dear to every Haitian's heart in this community. And if you had seen the vacant chairs there on something that is critical to a community, I was a little hurt by it. And so I don't know if it's just the timing that we're in, whether or not there's apathy on the more critical issues and more people come out to party. If more people come out to party and let's come out to the critical issues, that's a sad statement, I have to be very honest. And so I will probably be comfortable at 75 because I want to make sure that we have, because you know some of these folk were here with the other event that came for money. And they're here at every meeting. And they're going out and above and beyond just that event, doing other things. And we can't give them money because we don't give to those kinds of things. And so that's why I was kind of curious how we got into this posture for this amount for this. And even if I did support 75, I'd be very honest, I wouldn't do it next year. Because we don't have anything that increases our money. Once we put money out, nothing else comes in. And we have this little limited amount, which is, I think this one was like 6 million, take away staff and some of the other programs we've done. That amount has dwindled down. And you're looking at affordable housing projects, or I think we put $1 million or something in one of the affordable housing projects. So those numbers come down on substantive programming. And we don't get to raise millage rates, we don't get to put anything on the tax roll. It's strictly out of this district that has not been developed yet, and so a bulk of that money still gets held up until some of that stuff starts to happen. And so at some point, we have no money. We've had a great time, but the question is, how do we make sure we prepare this community, this neighborhood, trying to make sure some of the businesses that are here have an infrastructure around them to grow? How do we bring more businesses? How do we create a downtown structure that makes it a place where people can come down here for dinner at night and have cultural exchanges and art and all that stuff? And so I think this helps in bringing people in the area. But a lot of our dollars about putting that infrastructure in place to make some of that stuff happen. And so that was some of the trepidation I have. I've known this guy, Lord knows, 30 years. And it's hard for me, because I know when he touches something, he does a great job. I know that. I'm just trying to think about our mission and our purpose and the limited dollars we have. Yeah, the city can give you $500,000. You know, it's coming out of your tax roll. The county can give you $150,000. It's coming out of tax roll. We don't have that pool that we can go to each year with that volume of money. So that was just my concern about it. I noticed you had artists. There were several artists, and they all were like 25 grand, 25 grand, 25 grand, 25 grand. Are there any local artists that are going to play that you don't have to pay 25 grand to?
There is none of those artists which is not local, but if you are ensuring a walk of Edouard de Valcarrier, the walk in itself, one walk is about $100,000. If you have to insure it, even for one day, you will need, but all the programs, all the artists, all the infrastructure is Little Haiti centered. So in other words, perhaps I am arguing that 50 to 60% of the money we've raised will remain here.
May I? The purpose of the project is that, as you all know, Haiti have been suffering in Haiti, and here, us Haitians, we've been suffering. Therefore, many of us, like you were saying, didn't want to come out. When we did the carnival last year, we didn't expect to have anybody. And all of a sudden, we have over 12, or I would say, we think, according to the police, we had over 20,000. But the kids were counting, you know, they were not sure exactly. This is a way to bring us, the community, back alive. This is a way to participate and not being locked up in a house. This is a way for the new generation to know that the culture that make us Caribbean, Haitian, they could live it live, not just in the house with their parents. So I understand clearly, I know budget is tight. I'm even willing to, if you want, we could do 100 with the understanding that, you know, I'm going to go in and find the other 50,000 myself. And Mr. Hall, you know, if I say I'm going to get the 50, I will get the 50.
Can you get me 75?
Let's do 100, and then we will put something, because all we need is a new beginning in the past, the TPS trauma. By next year, we're going to go straight to county commission. We already spoke to the commissioner of the district. He's going to be in there for that to happen. We need to show that we are somebody here, and this is the best place to do it, by our culture, people to know. Of course, we're going to have the press, we're going to have like many people participating. And the Saturday before is where many people who have a restaurant could learn from some top chef coming over here. We have, it's going to be like a contest, and I'm very happy to see we have Chef Creole, who is here. He's a known chef. We're going to have Chef Paul, we're going to have different chefs. So the people who have the little family restaurant, they're going to learn in that day how to really prepare the food properly in order to attract and to keep the business going.
How do you do that at a festival?
It's not a festival. The festival is separate.
Okay.
The festival is the next day. This is going to be like a culinary event where you're going to have the different chefs showing their skill and having people taste the food. And the people who have small restaurant going to learn how to do it.
So there will be tents along the street where this is
happening? Oh yeah, it's going to be under the tent, you know, we're going to use the place here, we're going to use different places to do it.
Approximately how many different vendors, chefs?
Mr. Bo, how many you think we're going to have? How many chefs?
So far what we did, we invited the chef per region. And the idea also, because it's an evolving project, the idea is to see how, for example, a chef of Senegal will be a host of one restaurant, so that we do a kind of cross-fertilization. But so far we have 5 international chefs.
Committed or invited?
Pardon?
Committed or invited?
Yeah, committed. Committed. I just got back from the International Food Festival where, in Morocco, where we promoted the event.
Because we're going to use the local chef, because too many times we bypass the local chef.
That is really the problem.
And my good friend and I, you know, last year, we were at it, because that was the first year we were doing it. And I told him, I said, this year, you're going to be there and you're going to participate and let the people understand what it's all about. Because it's not complicated. Hey, for us Haitian, it's culture. That's what make us what we are.
Is there a way to tie in those restaurants and all that you're talking about? I'm trying to find out, how do we make it work here? And so I don't know if those chefs, and Chef you here, Chef Creole, who are, rumor has it he already won first prize. But, and I would probably vote in his favor. But is there any way with the local restaurants we have within this district to kind of work something out with them in your conversations where people can get a 10% discount if they come into the restaurant, not that day, but at other times? Because that will stimulate more business within the community if people come out and you do those kind of things. And the same thing with other businesses in the area that you're doing. If there's some way that people see a purpose, not just for coming out and partying, but coming back out and supporting and spending some dollars with the various folk here. To me, I see that benefit. I think that should be tied into the proposal.
I could answer that, you know. I go to Chef Creole, you know, once in a while. Sometimes it's not even there. And the people, they say yes, you know. They're so proud to showcase their food. They don't even charge me. I give them a good tip. And I call Chef. I say, Chef, you know, thank you so much, you know. And I tell him that, you know. The same thing with,
and I don't get it free.
That's you. But the same thing with my brother who has a restaurant. Because we are proud of our culture and our food and our carnival, our costume, our music. So we're trying to go past that CPS stigma. So that's why we incorporated. And everybody who knows about food, who knows about carnival, they know that we don't really need that like we need a hole in our head, because it's a lot of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of work, and we are willing to do it. And we are willing to let the people understand we are here, we're not going to be deported, we're not going anywhere, and our culture is going to stay. Thank you.
I wouldn't have a problem. I was listening to the rest of what the board members have to say. Again, meeting you halfway on that number with the caveat that you figure out something with Joanne and staff on how we make sure there's some other benefits to these vendors in the area, that people come back and spend money with them. I guarantee you give somebody a 10% coupon, if they don't use it, they'll give somebody in the family to come back on a given day. And I'm sure if you get that volume of people coming through with a 10%, you've made a mess load of money out of your restaurant and your stores. So I think that becomes something critical. And maybe that's something we can also assist if we know people within the area that have businesses to make sure they're part of that discount program. And I would suggest you also have, and you don't have to say a whole lot about it if it makes people uncomfortable. Maybe there should be a voter registration booth set up, register to vote, to get people involved, to make sure they're fighting hard for their rights. I think a lot of times we all take it for granted. And from what I see in this administration, everybody's at jeopardy if you don't do something to fight to make sure the American dream is actually real. So I'd like to hear from the other board members on their numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the amount that's being spent on this particular event, just being candid. I'm trying to find a way to feel like the funds are coming back to the community. And when I look at the breakdown, you know, I see lodging, I see artist fees, you know, it's all here, it's transparent, but it's like, we're gonna spend what we would spend to help someone build their house on one person, you know, and that person's from here. So for me as a local person, I'm trying to, I've been to Brooklyn Carnival, you know, I've been to London, I've been to Paris, I've been to Senegal, I've been to Liberia. I understand culture, I understand who we are as a people, I understand that connection. Also understand the climate that we're in, you know. People don't necessarily feel safe outside right now. There's 3 people that's not on my block anymore. I don't see them anymore. I don't know what happened to them. You know what I'm saying? And then for people to be outside, and I don't know, I'm not comfortable with the expenditure. I don't see how it's coming back to the community. I know it's gonna be a good time. I know it's gonna be fun, but I also know the time that we're in. I don't know if the timing is good. My other concern is marketing. It's February already. This says April. I haven't seen one flyer, one banner. I haven't seen the marketing. You know, I haven't seen it. And to do a big event like this, when you want to bring that many people out and it be done tastefully, you know, it does require a lot of, aggressive marketing and stuff. I just haven't, I saw it in the, the notes, but I just haven't seen it. I'm not sure if, and then if we're doing something in May as Haitian Heritage Month, I'm trying to understand why we couldn't combine that, because we always get at least 200,000 from Christine. Every year she gives us 200,000 as a community. So is that gonna be a separate pool of money, or is, it happens in May every year? There's just a lot of questions right now. So I think the timing for me is why I'm kind of reserved to support this at this time.
Okay, but sir, if you were not there last year, and you could check that. You could check that with at the carnival last year.
I was there last year.
Okay, we did it in 3 weeks. That's what I do. I put 450,000 people on Biscayne Boulevard from 2003 to 2007. It's all documented. We done carnival here in 1982, 83, 84, 87. That's what I do. Just like a teacher in math knows how to do numbers, I know exactly what I do because I have my reputation, and nobody thought it was possible. 2 months, yeah, for some people who don't know what they're doing, it's short. I could put a carnival together in 2 weeks. And I'm doing it to get the people hope, so they know they have that day, it's theirs.
Is this an annual thing?
Yeah, we had stopped, and then we're gonna do it annually. That's why we had the people last year. And this is a catalyst to get fundings. Normally, the big corporation don't give you anything before the 3rd or 5th years of your doing, because they want to see the proof of what you're doing. So that's why we're getting help. And last year, City of Miami, they took the chance. They said, okay, we're gonna put 500,000. And believe me, you could call the office of Commissioner King or anybody who was there, they were not disappointed. And it was hot that day. I don't know what happened. It's like it was hell that day, but we still pull so many people. So.
Is there a way that you all can do it in May?
No.
They can't do it in May.
Because you just say it. May is the Haitian month.
So it's not a Haitian carnival, it's Caribbean carnival.
This is going to be Caribbean.
Okay.
This is mostly a Caribbean carnival and Caribbean culture, Caribbean culinary. The people who goes, you'll be surprised to realize that the people who goes to eat Haitian food, I would say in Miami and maybe in Florida, more than 60 or 70% are not even Haitian. I have a chef right here who could tell you how many non-Haitian who goes to the restaurant.
I would like not to interrupt you. In order to help justify making sense of his budget, what you would do is you would invest in somewhere like Chef Creole, 7 locations, 82 employees.
That's how you would do it.
Well, he'll put the 50 grand in his budget or in Chef Creole, so that way Chef Creole can have that money revolving back into the community. Because I'm an economic engine. So when you get economic engines like myself that has been proven vehicles in the community, that money's not going to go nowhere but circulate inside the community. And like what's going on right now, ICE and the uncertainties in our community, and we got a lot of Haitian people that work for me that now have 2 more responsibilities, 3 more responsibilities. Why? Because the people that depended, the people that were independent now have to depend on them because they happen to be that legal vehicle that still exists.
Thank you, Chef. I just want to remind the board that, we have to continue to follow procedure. If you guys are finished with your conversations and you want to reopen public comment, and, for us to just stay in compliance and be equitable and fair to the other participants here.
So, and this will be my last point. I'll just be candid. I'm not ready to make a decision on this item tonight. I just need to digest it more. But the last time we was in this position, we got kind of slapped on the hand for using restricted funds in a way we should not have. So I would also need to have more clarity on what could we actually use the funds for as well, just to make sure that doesn't happen.
Sure. So, one, I just want to clarify that we are not funding the carnival. This proposal is for the culinary event that's happening the day prior, right? Inside of your packet, I worked alongside Tom to ensure that any expenses in relation to the culinary event is within or allowed through the restrictions that are listed in the SAP. So we wanted to focus, and just like the board has talked about the inclusion of Little Haiti restaurants and businesses, we wanted to focus, because I will say that was a strong comment in what happened last year. There was an evident lack, right, of Little Haiti businesses and restaurants and other participants. So we wanted to make sure that that's at the forefront this year, that there is a way as far as that inclusion is concerned. And then we also focused on the culinary education workshops. We also provided a list of current programming to be incorporated. We provided the list of programming such as Manger pour Vivre that we funded that happens here that should be incorporated. The compa dance class, we encourage for that to be part of it. We encourage for Traditional La Kulakai, who does the folklore dance already here, to be involved as well. We are asking for not only for the marketing for that day, but how do we create a keepsake that people take with them and want to come back into Little Haiti? Is that a way for us to start to promote cultural tourism so that people are coming back to the restaurants later on? So with our list that we establish what are allowable under the SAP and making sure that our funds are geared only towards everything that's educational and economic development, focused on that culinary event that's here in the cultural center, not out on the street the day of the festival. That's how we were able to bring the proposal forward. Once again, Tom worked on the resolution, reviewed the proposal, and make sure that the allowable, and that's why this list of allowable expenses are included in the proposal.
You know, one of the things I'm just thinking about everything that was said, having a sense of community, because as Vice Chair stated, he's been to many carnivals, right? But how can we bring about allowing the people of this community to experience what we or others have experienced in an international forum? I think about that on first, how many people can say they've traveled outside of the country, you know, internationally, and went to food festivals or had any other type of experience? And I think that goes to the sentiment of pretty much what we're based on is really to expand our horizons. So when we think about, and I'm a Brooklyn native, I know what Carnival on Eastern Parkway is, right, at the end of the day. When does Little Haiti get that opportunity? Because this carnival could have went to any other community, but it was chosen to be held here. And so I think, and I have to agree with Robert, we have to be very cautious of our funding policy and making sure that we are aligned with what our charter is. But at the end of the day, I think if we don't make a move, we have a missed opportunity, whatever that is. Because if it's not here, they can go anywhere else. And then it becomes, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And then where does it leave our people? In the same position that we started in. We have to take a chance on ourselves. We have to take a chance on our culture, because that's what it's about, especially in this climate. So I just want to say, you know, if it aligns with our funding policy, I think we should pose it. Anyone who's not willing, I've heard from 3 of the board members, myself, Ashley, and Robert. Alyssa, Rudy, please, this is the time, because I don't want us to be behind the 8 ball, because when does the city of Miami, when does Little Haiti get to be on the map saying, now we have a carnival Now, this is the Little Haiti Carnival.
Go ahead first.
Thank you, Chair. So I just have two things to say. I did have an opportunity to I did have an opportunity to have a brief discussion about this before the meeting, but I do have two things to say. Our funding policy, I have realized that there may be a concern about our funding policy because the total amount of the project, no matter what the total is eligible for 25% review. So if you have an even larger project, 25%. So I don't know if we maybe need to look at that and see how we feel about that in the future, because there was some concern about kind of opening up Pandora's box and some of the comments that were made. So that was something that kind of became clear, came into focus for me through this discussion here for this event. And then I'd like to know if when and how, if we do decide to give funds to this event tonight, how are they given? Is this going to be like for Haitian Heritage Month, where it's reimbursement and they're reviewed and given after, or is this up front, or how are the funds given?
So we create a grant agreement for Haitian Heritage Month. They are reimbursed, but that's the King's money, and we do it through her application. We would have to enter into a grant agreement, and most of the time it is reimbursable. So I don't know, we haven't discussed what the schedule would be as far as this event as of yet. Because as we do each grant agreement, Tom and I figure out what the schedules are.
I see kind of both sides of the coin with some of the discussion, that we've already had up here. But this is a multi-day, multifaceted, lots of moving parts in this event. So I would be comfortable maybe with some of the suggestions that have been made, and to have a review process to make sure that this isn't, the overlap, things don't get mixed up. When you do big events like this, people need to get paid, there's a lot of, last minute stuff. So I would be more comfortable with it being reimbursement style with the grant agreement like we've done, and make sure, that the day one, that precludes the actual, that is before the actual festival, that we have a handle on what is actually being paid, and there's receipts for that, and somebody's put eyes on that. I'm concerned, with the SAP, with, our requirements, with all of that. I just want to make sure that, we can have this, if we decide to go forward, on a multi-year basis, that this is something that is sustainable. Go ahead. Thank you.
So, looking at the numbers now, I don't have a problem with the event. The only thing is, like Mr. Holland said earlier, I think we should review whether or not we should look into, I guess, a negotiation of the amount. Because I guess we have a certain amount of funds that we need to, be cognizant of. And I think that we should try to at least, I guess, negotiate would be a better word, to see where we can find a common ground to work with this organization. I'm definitely in support of the idea. You guys.
That's why I propose.
I was just gonna add that, it's up to the discretion of the board to come up with a figure that you guys, feel comfortable with.
So what I've heard is, I've only heard two figures. One that was proposed at 75,000, and then a counter of 100. Is there any other amount on the table?
I would say if it's going to be multi-year, we do 75. Get the other funding, and if it is, if it's something that we feel like we can continue to get behind and support, then next year we can, maybe honor that figure that you initially wanted, but I haven't seen it really get off the ground yet. So I would say 75 for this year, with the contingency that if it's going to be a year over year thing, and it performs like you say it can perform, being able to put things together quickly, then we'll match the funding for next year and then more.
I really appreciate your gesture, but it's like somebody going to a shoe store and that person wear size 10 and you want to sell him a size 7. That person either have to cut his feet or cut the shoes, make the hole in it. So that's why I will be, myself and my group, coming with $50,000 from the 150 that we ask. And I think it's pretty much reasonable for what you're going to get and for what the people expect to have, they will get. Because if we don't do it right, there will be no next year. So you won't have to increase if it doesn't happen right. So that's why I say with 100, we're going to make sure it happen right, so we might come to you. But again, we're looking at Deep County. When we used to do that downtown Miami on Biscayne Boulevard, that was the only time that they let Caribbean group, mostly Haitian, close Biscayne Boulevard from 6th Street all the way to the Intercontinental Hotel. That never happened before. And we end up with 450,000 people for many, many years. Not even, I would say, the Hispanic had the opportunity to close Biscayne. They give them Calle Ocho. We did it because we know what we're doing. So if we don't do it right, there would be no next year. So take the chance with us with 100,000, and believe me, you won't regret it. So is the community. Because we need to be active. We need to come out. We don't need to be like rats, you know, in the hole. We need to show that we belong.
Is there a motion?
Motion at $75,000 funding with a year-to-year agreement that if it performs at a certain performance level, then we will honor the original 150 ask.
May I ask that we not do year to year, because usually we put a term, for example, like when we do our grant agreements. So either you have to put a term or just do it for this year and then the item comes back next year, if I may suggest.
And just because Alyssa talked about, I guess this raised possibly altering our current funding policy or looking at an alternative way. So I guess it would make sense for us to vote on it for this year. So there's not a lack.
So I motion for $75,000 to be granted toward the, was it Miami Marketing Strategies Carnival.
Would you accept a friendly amendment?
Yes.
That we have something that highlights the businesses with some sort of discount privileges for people to come back into the community to spend, whether it's the restaurants or the stores, that we work through something on that, and there be some sort of voter registration booth out there that's out there for people to get involved.
If I may ask.
That was a friendly amendment.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I was gonna say, but if I can ask you to amend, because we're not funding the carnival, right? So we're funding the culinary arts festival, right? So that if you could just amend it so that your motion isn't funding carnival.
Okay, motion to fund $75,000 towards the Culinary Arts Festival with provisions to provide local support to local restaurants, as well as having voter registration activations at the event. Yeah, we want to support local restaurants.
And any businesses in the community that would be willing to do it.
Local businesses.
Vendors too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's culinary. So I understand, okay.
No, it's a culinary event, but we're trying to get people to come back into the community to spend money. So somehow that we can get those businesses in line with this event for 10% discount cards that come back to their businesses and they honor those. That will encourage people to spend money in the community.
Yes, so I understand, like some type of promotional item that would return them or a coupon or, you know, and we'll create something in order to ensure that. But it'll be for local restaurants, businesses, and also programming, like I said, that happens here at the center that we want to include as well.
You can even come, without ruining the motion, you know, and it's maybe something we even can look at down the road. Maybe it's a card that has a list of all those businesses, and you eat your way around Little Haiti. You know, you go and get it stamped, you know, that kind of thing, you get signed off, that kind of thing. We have to start thinking outside the box to get people back in. This event at least helps bring people into the community that might not even live here from other areas, but now that card will encourage them to come in and spend some money, I would hope, with some of the area businesses. So I would second the motion with those friendly amendments.
Do I gotta say it again? Is it
No.
clean enough? Is it clean enough?
So I have the motion for approval, but also ensuring the usage of local restaurant businesses programming and the voter registration. And I don't know if there was any other addition that someone wanted to make to the motion?
Just the passport thing that he's mentioned.
Oh, yeah, like some type of keepsake, passport, something.
Motion is clear. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. If I may move on to the next resolution.
Was there any no's? I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't think so. I saw everybody saying yes. Unless Robert was whispering in the corner. The next resolution is for a new grant program that we're calling the Community Education Placemaking Grant Program. This, just as we've realized, the funding policy is for larger projects, and so we wanted to create a smaller grant program with a maximum of award of $5,000 that's concentrating on improvement of public spaces and focusing on education. And so this would be for those organizations that provide some type of educational series that has at least 3 or more sessions. They would be able to apply for up to 50% of their total budget costs, and the maximum amount would be $5,000. And so we're requesting a total contribution towards this grant program of $50,000. That would be able to fund at least 10, and if it's less than 5,000, then it would fund more than 10.
Joy, can you just run that back one more time?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
The smell is like, I just
you
can't
want alcohol?
focus.
It'll
No,
clear
it's
it.
okay. And I just, yeah.
So this is a new grant program that focused on placemaking, where placemaking is focused on, let's say, activating public spaces. And so this one is for us to be able to, for organizers or even producers, or it's an educational series where you're at least providing some type of education for at least 3 sessions. I'm gonna use Manger Pour Vivre like as an example, right? It's a culinary workshop where people are coming on a routine basis. So we've gotten inquiries where people want to provide some type of workshop series, but they don't meet all the requirements of, let's say, a funding policy. So for these smaller programs, we would give $5,000. They would have to have an educational series that has at least a minimum of 3 sessions, and we would fund up to 50% of the budget in comparison to the 25% that we do in the funding policy, but the maximum that they would be able to qualify for is only $5,000.
So 50% up to 5,000.
Yeah.
this makes them, through the chair, this makes them more portable too, right? So they don't have to be a brick and mortar.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So it's just focused on programming,
Programming,
right?
okay.
Because we, like, to be transparent, like, we've gotten requests from, like, traditional Lakulakay, who does, like, the folklore dance, right? And usually they do have a small charge, but we want to make it free and accessible for residents. So the program has to be free, it's eligible for the residents, but it helps her to cover her operational costs to continue to be able to provide classes here at the cultural center.
I can say I like the educational piece, because to me, that's almost a return on investment, you know, allowing the community to participate in some type of event, culture, education experience, but still allowing some type of funding for those that are, for the vendor that's doing that. So to me, that's return on investment. So, but I think it also aligns, I know that Alyssa stated it, just looking at our funding policy and how having to, you know, alter that, but I think this aligns with it.
Chair, may I? So I think this is a positive aspect for the community, and this creates outlets. You know, there's still, unfortunately, a lot of negative things here in Little Haiti. People struggling with housing, food insecurity. You know, we have still a lot of hills that we have to climb. So I think this is, you know, where people can come with their children for different classes. They can find something to do on a weeknight or on a Saturday. And I think that this is something that is a positive thing that we can do. And it kind of enables, like our executive director is saying, you know, a lot of the smaller grassroots folks in the community that have a lot to offer. And maybe, you know, they can't put something together perfectly, but they still have value and have, you know, nice things that they can provide.
Motion to approve?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
The next item is the CEO report. I wanted to highlight first a visit to a data center that's here in Little Haiti. When Keith Carswell was here from the Department of Economic Development, he talked about wanting to create a digital city and applying for federal funding. And part of that is having a partner that is a data center. So we did do a tour of the data center that's located in the northern part of the city. So I wanted to highlight that those efforts are moving forward for that federal funding that'll hopefully create a digital city that has the same boundaries as Little Haiti. So that's exciting as we're continuing to move forward. For the Miami Home for All program, we did have our initial session on January 27th. We're still looking and recruiting property owners. We're having a second session that is scheduled for next week, Tuesday, exactly a week from today, where we're going to be talking about the program and hoping to sign up property owners that are interested in receiving that technical assistance. Next is the Venture Miami update. We are still working with the provider of the what is that called? Yeah, the AI series. They're called Creative Hub. And so we're having an open house on February 19th as we're still trying to recruit students for that AI program. So far we have 3 Little Haiti residents that have been verified that are going into that AI program. Next, we have our list of the scholarship applications. As I summarized earlier, we've received so far 19 applications. We've approved 5 individuals and 5 were denied, and we're still working with the other applicants to receive the necessary documents to move on. We have an update of our small business grant. applicants? And the only other announcement is HEAP, which is the hospitality providers that came to our meeting last month. They are now doing their hospitality session, and they're also doing their housekeeping session. So they're actively recruiting, and wanted to make sure that we provided that update. And then lastly is our financial report for the month. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I have one, if I may. Thank you. I have a question. Some of the businesses have stayed on the list, the small businesses, for quite some time. So I was curious to know, do you or your staff follow up with them or check in with them, or we just kind of let them come back if they come back, or like Lewis Market, for example? Like, I'm curious to know like what the story is with that one.
So Lewis Market, I actually met with them this week. And so their building is almost done. And so we reviewed their application, and they're going to be submitting updated documents because we're hoping to have them open by May. So that's actively working. So it depends on where they are, because some get approved, but if, for example, if it's the facade, they have two options. They can pay the contractor and be reimbursed, or we have to pay the contractor. So sometimes going through that process takes a little bit longer because it has to be a licensed, certified.
Insured.
Exactly, insured contractor.
City problems, yes.
And so sometimes it's education on our part to teach them the proper ways in order to be able to get the monies out the facade. So for the 10,000, we just are giving them a check, and then we do a site visit. So we have some of those people. We have a lot of people who don't have active BTRs. Sometimes they have the Miami-Dade County, and they don't know that they need a City of Miami. So sometimes and then when they go to do the application, it's a more complicated application.
Get their CU and their BTR.
Exactly.
And have all the inspections. And
yeah. So we have one down the street, and we're like, oh, we need your BTR. And then when we look up the address, because we can look it up in the City of Miami system, they haven't had a certificate of use since 2017. So it's a lot of education on our part with these small businesses, and sometimes that's why it takes longer. And so we do try to follow up, and some people, come back. So, but I think we're going, for the ones that it takes longer for them to get approved. The ones that finally get approved is just the education on how they get the funding.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just curious, he's been floating around for a while, since everything occurred, yeah.
But we met with them this week, so.
I'm super happy. Yeah, maybe there'll be a little grand opening.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was just going to say something, in what Mr. Holland stated, based on the last funding that was approved. Just looking at the programming update, how do we have that? Yes, we're investing in the community, we're investing in these businesses, we're providing funding, but even thinking about even these grants that we're providing, we ask, or, we put it part of the grant agreement, they have to give, I'm just thinking about everybody's tires sometimes blow out, do you get a couple of cards that say, I'm going to give 15, 20% to 5 or 10 people, because that also boosts people coming into the community. So something just that, it just had me think about that return on investment. And I know what we're doing is investing in the community, but just almost kind of just getting the community to actually go to these places. How do we know that they're actually going and using the places that we're funding? So somehow, of course, our lawyer will be able to tell us, but it just had my wheels thinking, like, when we mentioned it on the last funding, it could also be done. I mean, because these are a lot of businesses that are in the community, and this is a lot of funding. Like, when we look at how much we've provided, but we also want the community to benefit, but maybe they can't. It could be a 5 free haircuts, whatever it is, but something that gets that business, have more people to be attracted by it. So.
No, definitely. And when we do our site visits after they get funding, we do a video with them. If you go to our social media, you'll see that each of the businesses, we have them speak, and we do a little presentation on their locations. Some have been really successful, like the one Sneaky Clean with the sneakers.
I'm about to go there. I didn't know it was right there.
So, but, you know, and so we continue to push them out. What we've been doing as well now too is including them some stories in our MailChimp. So now you can read about some of the businesses when you get the weekly MailChimp. So we're actively trying to do those things, but we'll brainstorm on like what you're asking us to do on like how is it that we can, because it's a give and take, right? Like,
Yeah, maybe
So
Saturday, a lot of people come through.
Yeah, or we give out cards like, you know, that says, you know, the trust has funded these people and they will honor, or they give those maybe discount cards. And if you have a resident that comes in and they have an issue or something, hey, you can go this place, they'll take care of you, here's a card. Anything that just gets that traffic. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just.
It might be a cleaner way to do it. In fact,
I told him he was the money man, that's why.
I had a bad experience 2 weeks ago. I went to meet a client on Miami Beach, and they towed my car. And it was $492.
Oh my God.
And they only take cash. But if you live on Miami Beach, it was much cheaper. It was a racket. But maybe we can come up with an emblem for the doors of businesses.
Yeah.
That I'm invested in Little Haiti.
Yes.
And if you can show your ID and you live in this community, you get a 10% discount.
Yeah.
And they sign in, we put them on the website as advertising, get them the businesses in our community. So we create this little placard, whether we've given them money or not. If you sign up, you get the free advertisement on our system, and people now will start to talk. Oh, you live here, they give you a 10% discount. And that placard is on the front door, the little sticker on it. And you'd be surprised how many businesses will support it because they want the volume of business to come to them, and we don't have to put anything into them. But particularly those we've given money to, we can ask them. So that may be a great program to implement. So
Yeah. We've been discussing doing an emblem for, I don't know, for a long time, but we're going to make sure to put that into action now. Sorry, I'm done with my.
Because Ashley's like looking at me because he's like, when are you gonna? Okay, there's nothing else on the agenda.
No,
Hold on.
we have two discussion items.
Wait, 2 discussion items. See, Ashley, we're not even ready. Okay,
Unless you had an item, right?
2 discussion items, yes.
So the first discussion item, if I may, is just, I received a letter. We've been working with the Metropolitan Center on a case that we got chosen from the Small Business Anti-Displacement Network to do a case study for our Little Haiti businesses. And one of the things that we're working on is we're going to do a survey so that we can learn a little bit more about the grant and how the businesses are doing after. So the professor, which is Dr. Murray, he submitted a proposal to show about the work that Little Haiti Trust is doing in Little Haiti to a conference called the Just Economy Conference that's happening in DC in April. And they selected us to have a presentation at one of their panel discussions about Little Haiti. So I was invited to speak, and so as per our SOPs, I'm bringing it to the board for a vote.
I'll make a motion. I think this is a really nice opportunity, like we were talking about, to put Little Haiti on the map, and so thank you.
How do we deal with it from the budget standpoint? Is it an allocation? How does that work?
Yeah, it's already in our budget. We have travel and we have education that's already allocated in our budget annually.
Is there a dollar amount for each travel? Like you have so much for hotel, so much per diem?
We created...
First class, they have the Ritz in the penthouse. I mean, how does this work?
No.
So we actually did
How much
create...
does she get for dinner? All that.
So there's a website, like the government website that gives you per diem per day, but we do have an actual policy that was created earlier this year, and it does have a daily limit, and what is it called? I want to say it's called GSA. It's a website that all the governments use to tell you what your limits are for everything.
You know, some governments are more endowed than other governments. I support the item. I just would like to have some information on the numbers.
So I can send you our SOP procedure.
Is it the same as the cities?
Yes, we utilize the cities to create ours.
If you can't send it to Alyssa, I know Alyssa likes numbers, so.
I can send it to the entire board.
Yeah, I'm joking.
If it's within our budget and within, I'm sure, you know, Joanne does everything by the book, so. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I was proud when I saw that, and if they can make room for me to go, then
Well, you know, the city board members are allowed to,
I know DC, you know, I know some people out there. I approve. Anybody was motion to approve? You already
We need a
motioned?
second.
Oh, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Ladies, enjoy.
Yeah. And then the next discussion item is Board Member Alyssa, annual evaluation process.
So, how you are with data, I am, you know, as Robert was joking, you know, with policies and procedures, I think they're really important. So my discussion request comes from wanting a more complete and inclusive process, and it's kind of, you know, twofold. I'd like to, you know, have, you know, a review process for our standard operating procedures. We've done a really good job. You know, we've put together this document, but I think there's, you know, a few missing pieces. And last year we had, you know, a really busy year, and we got a lot done, a lot of grants. We made, you know, leaps and bounds of progress. And, you know, we have not ever really had a finished document. And I'm suggesting first that there be a annual, biannual, you know, a review of these SOPs where we embark on going through them and seeing, you know, if there's missing parts, missing pieces, something we can improve on. Like I brought up the funding policy, you know, maybe it needs a little tweaking. So if we, you know, have this standard operating procedures, we have this document that we use and we depend on, I think it needs to have a finished product as best as we can. You know, you can't ever think of everything. And then to have some, you know, defined amount of time where we, you know, take a look at it and see where it can be improved upon. And for example, our executive director came up with her own review process. We didn't have one, so she created it herself to, you know, be able to, you know, document her progress and check herself. So I don't really feel that this was fair, and we should have a discussed and reviewed, you know, a discussed and adopted review process and set her up for success. And lastly, on that part, I would like it to be more inclusive. Since we all work closely with her, you know, I did struggle personally a little bit with that there was a finished review process that was brought to us. So I'd like to make sure that we have a review, that we have a process to work with our executive director and review our SOPs and cover all our bases. Of course, things will come up that are not thought of, but I would like to include as much as possible.
So definitely, I support that. The only thing is, I don't want us to box us into an annual, so if like prior to that annual review, if something comes up, we're allowed to amend or change it. Because I think we've done that in the past, like if something comes up and we need to amend our SOPs, we're able to do that fluidly, because I look at the SOPs, it's a living, breathable document that will never have a finale, if that makes sense, because things change over time. So it has to be fluid to be able to be amended and to support whatever is necessary. But definitely, I just don't want to, I don't want to box us in. Like, we can only do it at the annual review, if that makes sense.
No.
And so if we amend something, we should have a date, possibly by the SOP or any one of the things to say, hey, we reviewed it, we updated this policy on this date. So maybe when it comes to that annual review. If nothing is necessary, we know we've already looked at that and amended it at some point. So I just want to make it, I don't want to box us in. Regarding, so I'm in support of it once it's allowed to be fluid. Regarding the annual evaluation, looking at, we are not a governmental entity, but there is some extension of where our funding comes from. So as the chair, I really serve as Joanne's boss, if that makes sense. I approve timesheets, I approve certain travel, I approve, of course, with the board, but I approve timesheets on a bi-weekly basis. So definitely I want to make sure, and I think I work in a government agency. There are 2 tiers for any evaluation process. It's not just based on the actual supervisor. It has to go to a 2nd level review. So I think about it in the same way. So if the board would like to provide any feedback regarding an evaluation, that should be sent, and then the final say would have to come from, because what I don't want to do is expose an evaluation process in the open. That never happens. Anybody that's given feedback, anybody that's given any type of an annual evaluation, whether it's a private or governmental agency, that is a one-on-one process, if that makes sense. But I do appreciate the inclusiveness. I think it's necessary because it's not a one-man show or one-woman show, if that makes sense. But definitely, if the same questions that would be on the evaluation, if that wants to be sent to the board and they provide it, and then I will take all of that and make a determination. But what I'm not comfortable with is exposing an annual evaluation in public, if that makes sense. I think it subjects us to other things. I've also researched other boards. No one else has that process. They'll just provide the board with a copy of the evaluation, and that's all it is. Well, I think we've looked at Virginia Key Trust, we looked at other trusts, and there is no mechanism because, of course, sunshine laws, we can't meet, we can't discuss it. It has to be in a way that we get the information, but we can't really have a discussion unless it's out in the open. But I'm not comfortable having an evaluation done in the public, if that makes sense. But I'm in support of including everybody's opinion, everybody's, I guess, I want to be able to use that, and I may not be the chair, so I think it should be some type of policy that is consistent with how other boards have run, and I know Tom will be able to give us some guidance, but we have done that research.
Yeah, just to mirror what you said, I don't know of any other board that has a review process that gets to the board level of their executive. But the other thing I wanted to say is, as you mentioned, you were open to a process where the board gives you questions and everything, but I think you also said the answer within your answer, which is there's some sunshine issues with that. So whatever process is followed, if we're going to somehow keep it off of the dais but factor in everybody's opinions, whatever policy is adopted has to sort of almost be ministerial, right? So that they can either be funneled through Joanne or somebody else that's not sitting on the board. Just to use like an example to convey the idea, let's say you use like a numerical process, right? And then the way that the feedback is given is numerical and then averaged by somebody, right? That's a ministerial way to go about it. Yeah. So I can take any other questions too if you guys have any.
Just to help, can we just be given some, I guess, for us to deliberate on or talk about some other entities or organizations and how they go about doing this in the government realm, particularly these boards, and then we can sit and have discussion over that and either adopt one or modify one, and if we get full agreement, then we move forth on that?
Because I know about
Yeah.
I don't think everybody has a policy.
Well, yeah. So, yes, thank you, Leslie. So the only model that we really have is the city, right? And the city, the way it works is that the city manager is evaluated by the mayor, right? Like there's a direct lineage as far as who the person reports to. With the other boards that we did do research on in an attempt, there's no policy that dictates how they do it. So what we did is that we utilized the same exact form that the city of Miami utilizes in order to be able to create it, because that's what we do when it comes down to most of our policies. We just replicate what happens at the city. But it's hard for, even if I do research and Virginia Key, there is increases, but it's just done through the budget. There's no separate procedure that's done. Liberty City, it's also the chair that reports, but they don't have a written policy in reference to how that occurs. So even though there has been an attempt to do research, but there's nothing that I can bring back to you because there isn't a policy in place. So that's why we replicated what the city was. And then I wanted to just acknowledge the SOP is a document that manages how we operate, and something like the funding policy is not part of the SOP, right? That's you passed a resolution. So even if we're bringing back the SOPs, it wouldn't mean that you would be reviewing the funding policy. But at any time, you guys are always able to give instructions on if you would want something to come back and be amended. So just to be clear. And then the second thing I just wanted to state is that when we passed the bylaws, you did allow for me to be able to develop SOPs. So as we've encountered different situations that needed an SOP, like for example, our previous one allowed travel, but there was no process on how you would get a reimbursement. So we had to create a policy in reference to that. We've always had reimbursement for mileage, but there was no policy in reference to how to do it. So as we encounter these issues, we've created policies. So for if you wanted next month for us to bring back the SOP, we would bring you back a document that you approved, and then you would see additions as we've continued to create policies. Because until we encounter a problem, we don't know that we need a policy on it.
Sorry, were you?
No.
I can't make a motion, so I'm waiting on everybody else. I mean, I've stated what I had to say, but I mean, if there is a motion or if there's something we want to pass, the board members can.
So, and whatever the motions are, I would just ask that as two separate motions, however you want to address the SOPs, and then however you want to address the evaluation. And then if I may ask, if whatever the evaluation process is, if there's an appetite to consider merit raises with that, if we can go ahead and have that discussion, or how you guys would like to address it.
So if I can, Chair, I see this as kind of like when you have a 5-year plan, but you review it every year to make sure that, you try to set goals, but life happens in the way. So, the travel policy is a great example, needed help. So, not to limit it, but it seems that it, fell through the cracks because we have so much else going on, and we were, really successful and got a lot done. Joanne's been really proactive, and, she's worked really hard the last year. But, I think if we have something that says biannually, we do need to take a look at this. We need to have a discussion about it. We need to visit it. I think that I'm comfortable with something like that as far as the SOP. So there just is that level excuse me, that level of review, and that, there's something stated on the books, so to speak. And, I understand, maybe there's not a lot of examples, but not too many boards function like this board either. We are pretty successful, and, we've accomplished so much, and we don't have a lot of the, issues, problems, situations, whatever you want to title them as some of these other, different city advisory boards and things. So, I feel that, we work so closely and so collectively that, it would be, like you're saying, you're not a board of one, and, it was just my, kind of, I recognized this and, wanted to bring it up, and, it was kind of haphazard, last year when we discussed it, so I wanted to make sure that we had a formal, good discussion about it. And maybe the suggestions that Mr. Holland made and that our attorney made, of having a numerical system and maybe funneling things to you, even if it's anonymously, or, and that way you have additional information, from the other four board members, or, and you can include that in your review. That way everybody's had a chance to weigh in on maybe a positive, experience or something they feel Joanne could do differently. And that way everybody has some input, and that gets included in your final review. That's kind of where I'm going with this, and that, it was just a surprise to me that we had no policy, that we got a fully done review, and, we had items to, address. So I just, would like a more comprehensive procedure, on how we handle this going forward, since, we all are here, putting in our time and effort and energy.
Definitely. Like I said, I would support an annual review of the SOPs. I don't think, I think even if our agenda item has two things, our meetings are very lengthy. I think it should be maybe just an annual workshop, that we do it not at a board meeting, but we are reviewing whatever policies that have not been updated. So I would support an annual review of that, an annual board retreat, workshop, whatever you want to call it, regarding the evaluation. I'm in total agreement of that. However, we can make sure that we abide by the rules and regulations, but also making sure that the feedback is provided by the board and it is inclusive. But also, I do want to, we function, and I think Joanne's ask is if we're going to have some solidified policy regarding an annual evaluation, it should also, we should also determine if a merit raise would also be included, because that also happens. I mean, in any business, in any private, public, whatever it is, there are annual raises or merit raises. Cost of living, whatever it is. So I think if we're going to make sure that it happens, that we include that. And of course, that merit raise would have to be approved by the board.
I agree, and I think that was part of my confusion. We don't have anything, and that's not really setting her up for success.
No, of
and
course.
She should know, we should know, everybody should know, when you get hired for a position, it's spelled out for you. And we didn't spell it, just fell through the cracks. So yeah, I don't feel that that was very fair on anybody's part. And, I just think that this really needs some cleanup, and that we can do a little bit better and, organize ourselves better. And, I think that that's, more fair to everyone involved.
Yeah, maybe, so I'm in agreement. We can definitely talk about, I think August is usually the month that we take off or something. So if we want to make it that month that we have a workshop, whatever it is, but I'm in agreement with both. So whatever is their motion on the table. And I think we have to have two motions.
I'll take a stab at it. One motion to have an annual review process of our SOPs. Are we gonna stay August?
We could decide at any time.
Okay.
I just threw it out there, but it doesn't have to
So
be
yeah,
decided.
motion to incorporate the annual. Thank you, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Second, evaluation process for the CEO that is anonymous, numerical, yeah. With options of some type of merit-based raise, and also taking into consideration the cost of living.
Is that a motion?
Yes, motion.
Second.
Was that good? Take it back.
Hold on, let me try to understand.
I can restate it. Want me to restate it?
Well, so is the goal to direct us to come back with a policy that fits those conditions?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now I understand. So,
We
you just add
need,
direction
we need
to-
your expertise
You
to,
can direct me.
okay. Tom,
Tom.
if you could help us, please, Chair, if it's okay?
Yeah.
If you could help us create policies and procedures to make sure that, we've covered our basis and that we create a better annual review process that encompasses the other board members.
Okay, so we'll bring something back in the next agenda.
So we don't have to pass anything right now?
That means asking Tom?
That's just an ask on.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Make a motion to.
Yeah, make the motion to direct me, but
Go ahead, I'm tired.
It's 8:30.
Make a motion for what I said, so I don't have to restate it.
I thought I already said it, all right.
Just say what, because it's recorded, so they can get it out of the recording.
Make a motion to what Alyssa just said.
There you go.
It's already recorded. No, but in seriousness, making a motion to have an evaluation process to come back to us for the next meeting.
okay.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Board meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Listen. Thank you.
So basically, I'm applying for a small business program, right?
So you should have, so ask Joanne, because a Florida ID, I don't know if we want it, but Joanne is gonna be your person. She's gonna be your person.